Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but for me it came crashing home with a vengeance. I had been married to Ashley for 9 years. We were a team, or at least I thought we were. When she mentioned going on a girls' trip to Vegas with her friends, I didn't think twice. Ashley had always been independent and I trusted her. Besides, I figured Ashley needed a break. Her job had been demanding, and life overall felt like a whirlwind. If anything, I felt a little guilty for not planning something similar for us together. So, I wished her well, gave her a hug, and told her to have fun. She kissed me goodbye, and that was that. The first 2 days she was gone were uneventful. She sent the occasional text, pictures of cocktails, group selfies with her friends, the dazzling neon lights of Vegas. They seemed like innocent updates and I didn't question a thing. But on the third night, her messages stopped. It was nothing unusual for Ashley to lose track of time, especially when she was having fun, so I didn't think much of it, until I tried calling her. The phone rang, but there was no answer. I tried again an hour later and still nothing. By midnight, I was pacing the living room, phone in hand. My mind raced through possible scenarios. Maybe she lost her phone, or the battery died. But deep down, a strange unease began to creep in. The next morning, I woke up to find a single text from her. "Sorry, Ethan. I fell asleep early. Love you. Can't wait to see you when I get back." Something about it felt off. The tone was wrong, rushed, like she was covering something up. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. By the time Ashley returned from Vegas, I had convinced myself I was overthinking things. I greeted her with a warm hug and helped her with her bags. She seemed cheerful, glowing even, but I chalked it up to her having a great time. Over dinner, I asked her about the trip. "Oh, she said, her voice light and casual. "We hit up some casinos, saw a few shows. You would have loved it. It was just what I needed to recharge." Her answers were vague, but I didn't press. I didn't want to be the insecure husband interrogating his wife. But a few days later, the cracks started to show. Ashley had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter and a notification popped up for an email from a hotel in Vegas. Curious, I glanced at the subject line. "Thank you for your stay. Exclusive photos available." I clicked. The email contained promotional images from the hotel's nightclub, offering guests the chance to purchase candid photos taken by professional photographers during their stay. My stomach clenched as I scrolled through the gallery, and then I saw it. There she was, Ashley. Not just standing there innocently, but wrapped in the arms of another man, laughing, her face tilted up toward his in a way that sent a white-hot flash of rage through me. The timestamp confirmed it had been taken on the night she fell asleep early. I didn't say anything immediately. Instead, I waited, biding my time as I tried to piece together the rest of the story. Later that day, Ashley left her phone on the nightstand while she went to take a shower. My heart pounded as I picked it up, half expecting to find nothing. But within seconds, I struck gold. A string of texts with someone named James. The messages were flirtatious, filled with winking emojis and inside jokes that made my blood boil. "That night with you was unforgettable. When can we make it happen again?" James wrote. "Let's not talk about this here. I'll call you later," Ashley responded. My hands trembled as I scrolled further, feeling like I'd opened Pandora's box. What I found next made me wish I hadn't. Buried among the messages were photos. Intimate, graphic photos of Ashley with James. One of them showed her in a hotel room mirror, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before, while James lounged on the bed in the background. Then came the videos. In one, Ashley's voice giggled behind the camera as she panned over a table covered with champagne glasses and rose petals, James's arm pulling her into view for a quick, heated kiss. Her carefree laughter, her light-hearted demeanor. It was a knife twisting in my chest. But the next videos shattered any illusions I might have clung to. These weren't just flirtatious moments or playful exchanges. They were far more intimate, undeniably personal. The kind of moments that should have belonged only to us, captured on camera for them to relive. I watched, horrified, as the screen showed Ashley and James together in ways I never thought I'd witness outside our marriage. The scenes were unmistakable, intense, intimate, and devastating. There was no room for excuses, no possibility of misunderstanding. This wasn't a fleeting mistake. It was something they had chosen to record, as though their betrayal deserved to be immortalized. The air seemed to vanish from the room. My hand gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white, and my vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. This was more than a betrayal. It was a cruel mockery of everything I thought we shared. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to steady my breathing, to control the storm raging inside me. Part of me wanted to burst into the bathroom, confront her, and demand answers. But what would that achieve? She'd cry, she'd apologize, she'd beg for forgiveness, and somehow I'd end up the villain for invading her privacy. No, that wasn't enough. Not for this. The idea came to me quickly, fueled by a mix of fury and heartbreak. Confronting her in private wasn't justice. It wouldn't come close to the humiliation and pain she deserved for what she'd done to me. No, I wanted her to feel the full weight of her betrayal, to see her lies laid bare for everyone to witness. I got back to her phone, and I quickly forwarded the photos and videos to mine. Once I confirmed they were safely saved, I deleted the entire thread from her messages. The evidence vanished, leaving no trace of my discovery. As I set the phone back on the nightstand, my heart pounded in my chest. The water in the shower was still running. I had time. I wiped my face, practiced a neutral expression in the mirror, and inhaled deeply. When Ashley emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and humming a tune, I greeted her with a smile so practiced it felt natural. "Hey," I said casually, as though nothing had happened. "I've been thinking. My birthday is in a few days, and we haven't really done a proper party in years. How about we invite everyone over? Both our families, a few friends. We could do a barbecue in the backyard, something fun and laid back." Ashley's face lit up, her towel slipping slightly as she clapped her hands together. "Oh, I love that idea. It's been ages since we had a proper gathering. Your birthday deserves a big celebration." I nodded, the weight of my plan pressing down on my chest. "Exactly. A little food, some drinks, and lots of laughter. It'll be a day to remember." She leaned in and kissed my cheek. "I'll help with everything. This will be perfect." Perfect indeed. The days leading up to the gathering were agonizing, but I played my part well. Every time I looked at Ashley, my stomach churned, and my mind replayed the images and videos I had discovered. But outwardly, I was the same devoted husband she believed I'd always been. I smiled when she asked me for help picking out food for the barbecue. I laughed at her jokes. I even kissed her on the forehead like I used to, though it took every ounce of willpower to stomach the act. She had no idea what was coming. The day of the gathering arrived, and the weather couldn't have been more perfect. A bright, sunny afternoon with a light breeze. Ashley busied herself preparing food in the kitchen while I set up the backyard. I positioned the outdoor furniture, arranged the barbecue grill, and, most importantly, made sure the large outdoor TV was working flawlessly. Our families arrived first. My parents and siblings were cheerful, greeting Ashley warmly as though she was still the perfect wife they believed her to be. Her parents came shortly after, with her younger brother in tow. A few friends trickled in as well, chatting and laughing as the smell of grilled meat filled the air. Ashley seemed radiant, completely unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. She moved between guests, offering drinks and cracking jokes, her smile as wide as I'd ever seen it. The sight made my blood boil. As the sun began to set, the party hit its peak. Conversations were lively, the drinks were flowing, and the laughter echoed across the yard. That's when I decided it was time. "Everyone!" I called out, clinking my glass with a spoon to get their attention. "Before we get back to eating and drinking, I just wanted to say a few words." All eyes turned to me, and I felt a nervous energy ripple through the crowd. I glanced at Ashley, who was smiling up at me, clearly thinking this was some sentimental birthday toast. "I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight," I began, forcing a warm smile. "Family, friends, you've all been such an important part of my life, and I want to share something with you that's been on my mind." Ashley tilted her head, curious but unalarmed. I walked over to the outdoor TV, remote in hand. This year I've been reflecting a lot on trust, loyalty, and love, and I thought, what better way to celebrate my birthday than to share a moment of truth? Something deeply personal, something that opened my eyes and changed my life forever. The murmurs started immediately, a mix of confusion and curiosity. Ashley's smile faltered as she stared at me, her brow furrowing slightly. "What are you doing, honey?" she asked, her voice tinged with nervous laughter. Ignoring her, I hit play. The first video appeared on the screen. It was the one with the champagne glasses and rose petals. Ashley's laughter echoed from the speakers as James pulled her into view for a kiss. The crowd went silent, the the jovial atmosphere evaporating in an instant. "What is this?" Ashley's voice was sharp now, her face pale. I didn't answer. Instead, I let the next video play. This one left nothing to the imagination, the footage of Ashley and James together. Gasps erupted from the guests. Her mother clapped a trembling hand over her mouth, her wide eyes brimming with disbelief. The wineglass she held slipped from her other hand, shattering on the patio with a piercing crash. My father muttered an expletive under his breath, and her younger brother stood frozen, his face a mix of confusion and disgust. Ashley lunged toward me, panic etched into her face. "Stop this! Turn it off!" she screamed, tears streaming down her cheeks. I stepped back, holding the remote out of her reach. "Why should I? This is your moment to shine, isn't it? After all, you didn't mind recording it. You wanted it to be remembered, didn't you?" Her face crumpled, and she sank to her knees, sobbing. The guests looked on, stunned, some whispering to each other, others staring in outright disbelief. "You betrayed me, Ashley," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "And I thought everyone here deserved to know exactly who you are and what you've done." Her father stepped forward, his face red with anger. "Is this real, Ashley? Tell me this isn't real." Ashley couldn't answer. She was too busy crying, her hands covering her face. Her mother looked like she might faint. I turned to the crowd. "For 9 years I loved her. I trusted her. And this is how she repaid me." I gestured toward the TV, where the final video was frozen on the screen. "I thought you all deserved to see the truth just like I did." The tension was unbearable. Her brother finally broke the silence, muttering, "I can't believe this." He turned and walked away, shaking his head. One by one, the guests began to leave, some muttering apologies to me as they passed, others glaring at Ashley with a mix of anger and pity. Her father, his face red with a mixture of fury and disgust, was the first to speak, his voice low but filled with venom. "I can't believe this," he spat, his hands trembling. "I didn't raise you to screw around like a slut, Ashley. I didn't teach you to throw away everything for some man." He turned away, taking a shaky breath before returning his glare to her. "Shame on you." Her mother, usually calm and collected, looked on with a mix of devastation and frustration. "How could you do this? Do you have any idea what you've just done?" Ashley trembled, her face buried in her hands. I never meant for any of this to happen," she whispered, her voice breaking. Her father stepped forward, his voice cutting through her words like a knife. "Don't give me that. You don't get to act sorry now. After everything we've done for you, how could you betray him like this?" His eyes burned with contempt. "You've made your bed, Ashley, and frankly, I'm done with you." He turned to her mother, who was still in shock, and shook his head. "I don't know what you want me to say to her. She's not the daughter I raised. She's not the woman I thought she was." Her mother could only offer a resigned shake of her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what to say either. I never expected this. Never." Ashley's tears flowed freely now, but it did nothing to soften the coldness in the room. Her father looked at her one last time, his face hardening, and with a final shake of his head he turned away. "We're leaving. And when you pull yourself together, maybe you'll realize just how much you've ruined." The words hung in the air as her parents walked out, leaving Ashley standing there, broken and alone. Ashley collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably, her face twisted with regret. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I never meant for this to happen. I made a huge mistake. Please don't do this." But I stood firm, my eyes cold and unyielding. "Pack your things, Ashley. You're not welcome here anymore. I'm filing for divorce. It's over." Her tears did nothing to soften my resolve. I'd seen enough. I'd been betrayed in ways I couldn't even begin to describe, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way back into my life with hollow apologies. "I know you're sorry," I said, my voice flat, "but it doesn't change anything. You've destroyed everything we had. This marriage is over." She sobbed harder, but I didn't flinch. She had made her bed, and now she would have to lie in it. The divorce was finalized quickly, the legal papers a final confirmation of what I had already known deep in my heart. Ashley fought for a while, pleading with me to reconsider, but I refused. The damage was done, and I knew I couldn't live in the wreckage of what we once had. I kept the house at first, but as the days turned into weeks, the memories of Ashley, of everything we'd shared, suffocated me. I couldn't walk into any room without seeing her there, our anniversaries, our family gatherings, the moments that once made this place feel like home. It was too much. So, I sold it and used the money to make a new start. I moved into a small apartment, quieter and more peaceful. I decorated it simply, focusing on creating a space that was mine and mine alone. It was a slow process, but each day felt like a small victory over the pain I had lived through. A few months later, I began dating again. I met someone new, a woman who made me laugh, who shared my interests, who didn't have a hidden agenda. She wasn't Ashley, and that was exactly what I needed. Slowly but surely, the ache in my chest began to ease. As for Ashley, she struggled in the aftermath. She moved out of state, trying to escape the shame and the wreckage of her own choices. I heard through the grapevine that she attempted to rebuild her life, even trying to date again. But the trust she had broken, both in me and in herself, made it difficult for anyone to take her seriously. The scars of what had happened would always be there. Her parents refused to speak to her for months after the party, and her friends distanced themselves. She was left to face the consequences of her actions alone. Eventually, time healed the wounds for me, though, and while I would never forget what had happened, I learned that I could still find happiness, even after everything. The past became a lesson, a painful but necessary chapter in my life that pushed me to grow stronger. I wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in ages, I was looking forward to it. Thank you for watching.